Lesson 4, angle relationships. Our learning goals for this one, at the end of this lesson, you should be able to define and sketch angles below and apply the angle addition postulate to solve for an unknown measure with justifications. We're going to justify again. We got acute angles, straight angles, right angles, angle addition postulate, obtuse angles, and congruent angles. Make sure you're filling in on your vocab sheet packet and notes along the way. Alright, so our types of angles, we got acute angles. If an angle is less than 90 degrees, it is an acute angle. If an angle is exactly 90 degrees, it is a right angle. If it's between 90 and 180, not including those two, so like 89.9 and 179.9, that would be obtuse. If it is exactly 180 degrees, we call it a straight angle, also a line. So angle LKN, we gotta find it first. Here's L, here's K, here's N. Let's use a different color. So I connect from L to K to N. You can read this, since we're going this way, we're going to use inside numbers. That is definitely more than 90 degrees and less than 180, so this would be an obtuse angle. I'm going to write the angle sign because I'm lazy. Next one, we got angle JKL. Here's J, K again, and L. So I have this angle. You can subtract the 90 from the 30-ish, or you can just kind of look at it. And I know it's between 0 and 90, so this one is acute. And then the last one, angle JKN. Here's J, K, N. So I'm looking at that angle. Well, if you look at the protractor, that is exactly on the 90, so that is a right angle. Alright, next on the list, congruent angles. Congruent angles are angles that are the same. They have the same measure. So in our example, angle J is 35 degrees and so is angle K. So we would say that those are congruent. The congruent sign has an equal sign with like a little squiggly up top. So it says, use the diagram below to determine which angle is congruent to angle WBM. So here is angle WBM. You'll notice, I'm going to erase it quick now that we've marked it, that if you can tell, it has a little line on it. Looks like this, kind of like what the one up top looks like, that little red arc. So it only has one of them. You'll notice that, like right here, that one has a couple of them. So we're looking for one that's marked with only one arc. Well, if you look at the rest of your picture, you'll notice this one right here only has one arc, so I'm looking at an angle that goes from here to here. So if I connect those points with my vertex in the middle, I would say angle AED. E needs to be in the middle because that's the vertex. You could also call this angle DEA. Either one is totally fine. The next one, it tells me angle 1 is congruent to angle 2, so I'm going to draw these little arcs. That way I know they're the same. And then it says solve for x, and then we need to justify. So we're going to start measure of angle 1 equals the measure of angle 2. I know that because it tells me they're congruent. So we're going to say definition of congruent. I know what angle 1 and angle 2 are because it labeled them for me, so I'm just going to plug those in. So I have 6x plus 2 equals 9x minus 10. And when we plug something in for something else, we call that substitution. I'm going to run out of room. Substitution. Then from there on out, it's just algebra. So I'm going to subtract 6x. So I got 2 equals 3x minus 10. That is subtraction. Then I'm going to add 10. So 12 equals 3x. Addition. And then divide. So x equals 4. Division. If you don't understand that justify stuff, make sure you ask. So we got finding measures. It says find the measure of angle KLM if the measure of angle KLB is 26 and the measure of angle BLM is 60. So a lot of these are just making sure you're finding the right angle. So here I got KLM, so that's the big one. That's the one I'm looking for. Alright, I know that KLB, this angle right here, is 26 degrees. And then I know BLM, this angle here is 60 degrees. So to figure out what the big angle is, I'm just going to add the smaller two because I know that they make up that bigger angle. So if I take 26 plus 60, I get 86. So that is the measure of angle KLM. And you have just used what's called the angle addition postulate. All that says is if an angle is made up of two smaller angles, you can add those together to get the bigger angle. So the next one says find the measure of KLU. So KLU, this is the one I am looking for. Then it says if ULM, so ULM, this one is 20, and KLM, this time the big one, is 110. So I know the whole thing is 110, so the whole thing is 110, then I know a part of the smaller one of the smaller ones. So I know one of the smaller one is 20. I need to know what that other one is to find out how big it is. They need to add up to the bigger angle. So all I'm going to do is subtract 20, and I get that that angle is 90 degrees. So this angle right here, angle KLU, is indeed a right angle at 90 degrees. Here's kind of the breakdown, the fancy words for the angle addition postulate. Pretty much all it's saying is that if two small angles, like this angle and this angle, make up a bigger angle, then if you add the two small ones, you should get the big one. The angle ABC says if that's 175, what are angle ABD, that's this one, and angle CBD, that is this one. So I know that those two smaller ones make up the big one, which is 175. So we're going to figure out what x is and then plug that back in. And we got to justify. So like I said, we know that those two smaller angles, so angle ABD angle CBD add up to be that big angle, which is ABC. My justify is going to get kind of sloppy. I'm going to call this the angle addition postulate. That got real cramped. Alright, so now that I know what adds up to equal what, I can just plug in what I know. I know ABD is 6x minus 5, so I'm going to plug that in there. And I know CBD is 4x plus 10. I also know ABC is 175. When you plug stuff in for one another, that's called substitution. Okay. Now just plain old algebra. Simplify 6x plus 4x, 10x, negative 5 plus 10 plus 5. That still equals 175. Call that simplify. And then we're going to subtract 5. 10x equals 170. Subtraction. And then last step, divide to get x equals 17. Now I am not done there. It asked me in the question, so what are the angles? So ABD, I'm going to write myself a little note up here. I know x is 17. So if I plug 17 into ABD's little equation, I get 6x minus 5, so plug 17 in for x. So I know the measure of angle ABD is 97. Doing the same thing in our other angle. Measure of angle CBD, plug it in for x, so 4 times 17 plus 10 gives me 78. Check to make sure. Do those two add up to be 175? Yes, they sure do. Alright, so here are the terms you should know. Acute angle, that is anything less than 90 degrees. Straight angle, equal to 180 degrees. Right angle, equal to 90 degrees. Let's finish that one out. Obtuse angle, between 90 and 180, but not including those. Angle addition postulate. Let's draw a picture there. Pictures are always fun. So if I call the big angle, angle 3, this angle, angle 1, this angle, angle 2, all I would say is the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 equals the measure of angle 3. Small stuff adds up to the big stuff. And then congruent angles are just angles that have the same measure. They are equal. And that is it for lesson 4.